I'm Whitney.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Deb.
We're three best friends who love nerdy things.
Well, some people think we're nerdy, but we think we're pretty awesome.
This is Our Nerdiest Thing.
Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to Our Nerdiest Thing. Today we have a very special winter solstice episode to celebrate Feyre's birthday.
Yay, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Feyre.
Not Jesus, Feyre. Just Feyre.
He gets his own day later this week, right?
We're just celebrating Witchcraft Day today.
Sure.
I'm just kidding. I don't really think that, but...
We are discussing A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. And of course, this episode will be spoiler heavy. So listen with care. Deb, will you please share our nerdiest cocktail?
Of course. We have Drunken Decorating. It's themed after our very handsome bat boys, and it pairs well with pining over a girl with resting bitch face, trying to honor your mom's memory, and funny one-liners. Like their funny one-liners or our funny one-liners?
It could be
all
both.
Of the above.
Okay, yeah, all of it.
So the Drunken Decorating cocktail is orange cello, vodka, orange juice, and edible black glitter. It's really, really pretty. Perfect for solstice. The recipe will be on Instagram and on our website.
Well, before we get into the novella itself, Mindy, will you please share our nerdiest vocabulary?
Of course I will. I'm going to take it way back to when we first started this podcast and we were doing A Court of Thorns and Roses. And mostly then I did names, right? Mm-hmm. How to pronounce or what they meant. So there were a couple of new names in this novella. And it's the two ladies at the rainbow. First, we have Racina, who is, ends up being Feyre's partner. And I didn't really find anything with that particular spelling, but when you take out one of the S's, Racina is Arabic for firmly in place, deep-rooted, stable, and upstanding. Which
that's a really good...
totally fits, right? And then the other one, and there was nothing in Urban Dictionary, though, so that was a little bit disappointing.
Womp womp.
I know. But then we have Paulina, owned the house where Feyre makes her new studio. And Paulina means small, sunny, or little rock. So I don't know. Do with that what you will. But the real fun comes in.
Oh, gosh.
When we look at Paulina in the Urban Dictionary.
Oh, God.
No.
So
it's always about penises on your Urban Dictionary definitions.
A penis might be involved, yes. So
I heard that's how Paulina got here.
But when two Fae love each other very, very much.
So it starts out very sweet, awesome, nice, wonderful friend. That was one entry. Another entry is super spectacular woman who is pretty, known to dance well and have a good time.
No, that's Deborah in the Urban Dictionary.
So sweet and innocent, right?
Yeah.
No, someone had to go there and define dirty Paulina.
Oh, my.
Oh, God.
Dirty Paulina is when two or more people next to each other come simultaneously while dancing.
Ew, Mindy.
No, wait. I didn't make this up. Wait, you didn't get the best part. Oh, God. And then roll in it afterwards.
Oh.
Boo.
I'm sorry.
Well, luckily, that's the only nasty I have so far.
I'm gonna make you a dirty Paulina ornament for Christmas.
That is just horrifying.
I think that needs to be the sketch for this week.
You can't post that on Instagram. We would get
flagged. Post it on Twitter.
Yeah, we would get flagged so fast on Instagram.
Now that
thank you for that,
everyone
Mindy.
wants to hurl up their cocktail or coffee, let's
shift gears. Let's talk about the book now. With what your favorite moment was. What's your favorite moment from this novella?
Learning the reason that Cassian wants the women to train is because his mother could not protect herself not only makes him more noble, but continues to make me want to drop my panties for this guy. My God, my husband edits this and he knows, and this guy's fictional, so I can say this. I would 100% cheat on my husband with Cassian. But here's the thing. Cassian respects women. He knows that there's a bigger place for them in the world. And damn it, that just doesn't make him even more attractive than he already is.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
that was my favorite part. And I've only read this novella once because and I'll talk about this later when we talk about like what we are looking forward to in the, in the universe. But I didn't love this book when I read it last time because I was really wanting a big ACOTAR book.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what the whole fandom wanted.
Right.
And so rereading this and remembering these types of things, I'm like, okay, there's some very important details in this book that I had completely forgotten about because I rushed through it because I was mad that it was short. So
I had forgotten that detail too about his mom. Like that is his motivation for training the girls, basically.
Right.
And so for me, that brings in an even bigger emotional context, really, for Silver Flames trying to train Nesta. Right. And like the frustration that he has that she won't cooperate with him. And then, how meaningful it is for him when when Gwen starts coming and the other priestesses start showing up. I was like, oh, okay. It's like way deeper than just Nesta. Right. Like there's so much more to it. I completely forgotten about that.
I understand that she was probably trying to give the fans like a book like at the time, right? Because I'm sure people were pressuring her, but I really just wish this had been at the beginning of the next book because I would have liked it way more.
Yeah.
Even if it made that other book 100 pages longer, I wouldn't have minded at all.
Right.
Because when I was reading it, I was like, wait, that's it? And now I've got to wait like a year?
Yeah. I wonder if the editors, or if she just decided that she did not want to have Feyre and Rhysand's point of view in Silver Flames and wanted to only keep it Nesta and Cassian.
Maybe.
And so this novella was her way to keep their POVs as like the connector from book 3 to Silver Flames. You know what I mean?
Sarah, when you listen to this, just let us know.
Yes, I'm sure she's one of our avid listeners.
Right, 100%.
Mindy, what was your favorite moment?
Well, my favorite moment is kind of a silly one, I guess, but I just love it when Feyre and Cassian get drunk and, quote, decorate for solstice. And then Az has to come in and make it look better because they just like threw it all out there.
Yeah.
I just think drunk Feyre and Cassian just are hilarious.
But here's what I love
that
too is that later Rhysand walks in and he's like, oh, was this Feyre and Cassie? I'm like, who knows? He's like, oh shit, everyone got drunk and tried to decorate. Oh, okay, yeah, I see who did this.
Right. Yeah, I loved that too. That's actually connected to my favorite moment, which is not a favorite moment, but just generally, I really enjoyed the Bat Boys and their playfulness because we got to see them really like loosen up and joke around and be flirtatious, and they were funny. They were legitimately funny, and they have funny moments in the first 3 books, but not really, right? Like those are very action filled and very conflict.
There's a lot of emotion.
Yes, like they're just real heavy books, and this had a much lighter feel to it, and I just really enjoyed seeing that part, especially Azrael. Like you don't get to see his personality hardly at all in any of the other books, and he's like funny and cracks jokes, and I really enjoyed that a lot. I don't dislike him. I dislike him for Elaine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really don't like Elaine. I think I don't like Elaine because Sarah J doesn't let us know her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we get to see.
That's why I'm worried. Why
well,
not?
Yeah. Like we don't get to see her thought process the way that we've gotten to see almost every other character, right? Like we've gotten to see inside their head a little bit, and we just do not get that with her, other than like I wanted to still be engaged.
She's not like a weakling either. I mean, she killed the king of Hybern, right?
Yeah.
Like she's very strong. She's stronger than she thinks she is. But yeah, it really scares me that we're kind of seeing this almost like unreliable narrator part when it comes to her.
Yeah.
Of like, she's weak and she can't do anything and she's like stuck in the human world. So I feel like even if she's not evil, which I mean, that I'm not going to die on that hill or anything like that, but something big is coming.
Something's up. Yeah.
Well, I think thinking on that same line of thinking how the other characters view her, one of the reasons I dislike her is because I feel like the characters give her so much of a pass for the same crap that they absolutely like villainize Nesta for.
Right.
And it just makes me mad. Like Nesta's a bitch. Like, okay, I get that. She is bitchy, and
She
that's
owns it, though.
fair. That's totally fair. However, like before they even give Nesta a chance to be bitchy to the other characters, like Rhys and Cassian kind of already hated her because like you let your little sister go out into the woods, and I'm like, okay, but Elaine did that exact
so did her
same.
dad.
But it just really bothers me. Nesta gets so much hate for the same stuff that Elaine is. Everyone's like, oh, sweet Elaine is baking bread. Isn't it beautiful? And I'm like, what is happening? It makes me crazy.
I love it when Whitney gets hot about Nesta.
It makes me, well, in more ways than one.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd probably leave my husband for Nesta too. Now, Nesta and Cassian, I'm packing my bags. Bye.
Right?
I'm
See
moving
ya.
to Valaris.
I would consider polyamory for Nesta and Cassie.
I will be their headboard.
Let's move into least favorite moment. I'll just go ahead and say my least favorite moments were Rhysand going to the Spring Court. All of those scenes with Rhys and Tamlin. I feel bad for Tamlin, and I know that I'm kind of in the minority with that. I don't think that I don't think that he needs to be redeemed, but I do hope, and we talked about this when we did our first season with the first book of this series, but I do hope that we get to see Tamlin more and hear more from him the way that we did Nesta in Silver Flames, right? Like, she's not redeemed in Silver Flames, but you understand where she's coming from and you see kind of the reasons why she turned out the way she did. And I hope that we get to see that with Tamlin. Because, I mean, oh my gosh, when at the end, when Tamlin asks Rhysand, like, do you think she'll ever forgive me? And it's just like, probably not, man. Like, probably not.
Yeah, kind
and
of a
that's
big deal,
rough.
bud.
Yeah.
And just I just feel bad for him. I feel bad for him, and I think he knows that he like effed up beyond majorly, right?
Yeah.
Maybe she could forgive him, but she's never going to forget. They're never going to be friendly.
No,
they're never going
never.
to be sitting in the same room doing and I mean, his court is gone. Like, I mean, I don't know how he is ever going to gain that respect back from anybody.
I know. I think maybe he doesn't.
Yeah.
Unless he ends up with a lane.
Yeah.
And he is with a mate or somebody that can do that work for him, you know?
Yeah.
But I thought those scenes were very well written and very emotionally impactful of like just feeling bad for a dude that did some really crappy things,
But
you know?
also stop doing shitty stuff. Why you don't have to destroy every room in the house, dude.
I know. He's got such anger issues.
Yeah,
it's
like
crazy.
we get it, and you're just doing the same stuff over and over again.
Yeah,
So,
he is. He's repeating all of his mistakes.
Yeah.
It's like he literally can't help it.
Right.
He doesn't know how to help
I mean,
it.
maybe like an incoming character is a therapist.
Maybe. Maybe Vasa and Jurian will go out to Spring Court with Lucian or something. Or
Here's the thing. Jurian can be like, bro, I was in a ring for
500
years.
500
Oh,
years.
500 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in a ring for 500 years and I can handle the world.
I
You
know,
don't
right?
got it that bad.
Right?
I was an eye for 500 years.
Well, he had to watch Amarantha do it with Rhysand at least, and all those other people she probably
that
did
was
it with.
the good part of him being
Yeah,
in the
for
ring.
the 450 years before Rhysand.
Yeah.
I mean, good grief.
Yeah.
Deb and Mindy, what were your all's least favorite moments?
Mine was the whole scene where Cassian follows Nesta outside and he's trying so hard to connect with her and she's just such a bitch to him. I just feel so bad for him in that moment, and especially at the very end, the last look she gives him, and he says that it makes him feel like an Illyrian bastard. And like, that's so, for him, that's like the worst thing you can be, right?
Yeah.
So it's just really heartbreaking, and that just made me so sad. Even though I know like it gets, that gets fixed eventually, it just was, going back to that moment just made me super sad.
Well, mine wasn't that sad. Now I'm like, So I honestly do not understand the scene with Morrigan riding in the woods, even though I'm more than certain that SJM is going to blow our minds with the meaning for this scene in like 5 books from now. It's not going to get fixed anytime soon. But a lot of the fandom wonder about who and what Morrigan is. And even how she became a part of the inner circle is unique, right? So why did Eris actually dispose of her? Why did he hammer nails through her abdomen and leave her on the edge of his court to die? How did Azrael just happen to come across her at that time? And that honestly really got me wondering if there is a Morrigan in folklore, and there is. So when I dug a little bit into Morrigan and folklore, the name itself means Great Queen, Phantom Queen, or the Queen of Nightmares. She's said to be a great warrior goddess in Irish Celtic mythology, most associated with inciting war and then stirring up a frenzy in battle.
Oh, wow.
So I find this quite interesting, since we know, number one, there's a missing queen in these books, and even the person who's supposed to be like the mother of all things in these books is unknown. So I find it interesting that the Morrigan in folklore is a queen. And some folklore says it's 3 sisters as one queen, which we've got 3 sisters in this book. So I find that kind of fascinating too. So there were a couple of other things where I'm like, this is really weird. The Morrigan is said to be able to shape shift and dramatically change her appearance. She could take the form of many different animals, humans, and mystical creatures, but the Morrigan is most often seen in the form of a crow. In Irish folklore, a crow is actually seen as a harbinger of death.
Interesting.
Yeah. So another ability that the Morrigan possesses is the power to control the fate of wars and foretold prophecies. Soldiers and warriors would vie for her favor in battle, as she's known to choose favorites and use her powers to help them win. So on top of that, the Morrigan goddess has the power to predict the future and then influence it. So she can cast spells that puts fear into the hearts of her adversaries, ensuring those that she favored would be victorious. So I find it very fascinating that they keep winning all these wars that Morrigan's at, but then, like, is she inciting things? Is she seeing the future? Because even in this book, it says, like, the truth is her curse or something like that.
I was just about to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, is she a seer? Is Elaine a seer? And so, like, when she's in the woods, she also feels something watching her, which kind of sounds like Bryaxis, to be honest.
I know, I thought the same thing.
Question too.
But I'm like, who's watching her? Why is she cool with them watching her? And, like, what was she doing out there? Like, what was she looking for?
Yeah.
Did she see something that she, like, you know, like a vision, and she was looking for something out there? So, again, much like Elaine, Sarah J. Maas does not do anything on accident. We've talked about that a million times. So having a goddess that influences war and can actually bring people back to life, it's interesting that she has as a main character in, like, the cadre of the inner circle.
Yeah, that we don't know really that much about.
Right.
Yeah.
We know that we love her because she's great and she's a really good friend to everybody, but, like, who is she really? Like, where did she come from? Like, what is she doing in her spare time when she's gone all the time?
Yeah, that's her whole thing. Like, my gift is truth. Like, what does that even mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we've not really seen, she keeps saying that, but we don't see her do anything.
Right. And
other than show them the Veritas or whatever in Mist and Fury. But
right. And she we don't see her as weak as Elaine, but they do kind of put her as, like, this person who, like, is paralyzed by what has happened to her and, like, can't move forward past it. But so I'm wondering if when she does get past it, is she going to, like, rage out? That's what I'm worried about. Is she just going to, like, lose her shit on the night court in the Court of Nightmares and just kill everybody? Like, what's going to happen there? You know,
they've set that up to be a thing.
For sure.
She said, like, Rhysand told me I can kill my parents whenever I want to.
It would be cool if she and Emery took over the Court of Nightmares.
Yeah.
That would be cool. So, yeah, least favorite scene was, what the fuck is Morrigan doing in the woods? Hanging out on a horse.
What about biggest revelations? Mindy, what was your biggest revelation?
I don't know if it was really a revelation, but something the surprise that I loved was when Rhysand gives Feyre the land to design her house to fit everyone. It was just a really sweet moment, and I really didn't see that coming when I first read
my
this.
dream. Someone to be like, here's some land, design your house.
Yeah.
As big
the
as
library
you want.
goes right here, and then the rooms around it.
Here's the craft room. Here's the library. See ya.
But yeah, I just thought that was a really sweet moment, and that whole grand gesture kind of thing.
Right.
You know, he gave her the birthday presents, but he never gave her the solstice present. And you kind of wonder, you're like, well, what happened there? And then he does that. And I just thought it was a really cool, big grand gesture moment.
I didn't even pay attention to the fact that he hadn't given her a solstice present.
Me neither.
I was like, you gave her plenty.
But I think that's the
It's
point.
fine.
You're not supposed to remember.
Yeah.
So that this comes as, like, the surprise.
Yeah, that is a sweet grand gesture, which he does really well.
He does do that well.
Deb, what was your biggest revelation?
So we know that our favorite Bat Boys, Cassian and Azrael, have the siphons, but I always thought that the siphons funneled in excess power, not that they actually helped the boys get rid of excess power. I had never caught that before. So
I didn't either.
Yeah, so that does make me question, why doesn't Rhysand have them? Who creates the siphons and who decides who should get them?
Rhysand doesn't have them because he has too much power. They're not strong enough to funnel his power.
So how does he funnel his out? The shadows?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't remember if it's in Mist and Fury or Wings and Ruin, but at one point he tells Feyre that Amryn, like, taught him how to like slowly, a little bit at a time,
Have
like
we
constantly
seen
funnel it out.
any other Illyrians with siphons on them?
Yeah, I don't think they have, like, names and stuff though,
Okay.
but
But I want to know who, like, makes these because they're kind
I
of
know.
cool.
I don't.
I got the impression that they're not something they wear. It's something that is
on them.
Yeah. In this book, I noticed that.
Interesting.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Well, because in fan art, they're always drawn as part of like the armor,
Right.
But maybe
There's just a hole that goes in.
the
That's
siphon
what
hole.
she said.
Hey, do you have room for my siphon hole?
I'm pretty sure that in Mist and Fury, Feyre describes at least the ones on the tops of their hands. It has like a loop that goes over one of their fingers to hold it in place.
Interesting.
okay.
Or at
Well,
least
maybe
that one I think she describes. I can't remember which book it's in. It may be more than one, but I know that at different times when they go to the Illyrian camps, Feyre sees siphons on other warriors, but they have like one or two on their hands, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, Cassian and Ezreal have like a million. That's crazy. Like no one else has as many as they do."
Can I get one for when I'm pissed off? I just like want one like on my shoulder blade, and I can like tap it and be like, "Oh, I feel so much better."
Yeah, just get that energy
Right
out.
before I'm about to yell at the kids, I'm like, tap, 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 tap. I'm like, okay, everything's fine. Everything's fine. What was yours, Whit?
Well, my biggest revelation actually led into my deep dive for the week. So everybody get ready to
your
hear.
butts.
Yeah, hold on to your butts. Get ready because I did a lot of research. So you all know, especially our listeners that have been with us since season 1, I've read this book a lot. But every time I read any of these books in the series, I see new pieces of information or a detail that I just didn't like catch on to any other time that I've read it. So this time, but was no different. I never really paid that much attention to the description of the top of the mountain Ramiel before this time.
Right.
And something jumped out at me that I did my deep dive on. So context for Ramiel. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Is that how the audio
That's how the audiobook says it.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
It's Ramiel.
That might be the first time
But
I've
we
ever.
know that sometimes the audiobook narrator does not
Well,
talk to the
yeah.
author, so who
That's
knows?
true. Well, we'll just call it Ramiel. So, in A Court of Frost and Starlight, Ramiel starts to get mentioned, and it plays a huge, huge part in A Court of Silver Flames. It is the mountain in the heart of Illyria that is the scene for the Blood Rite, which is a huge part of Silver Flames. So, to recap, the Blood Rite is for Illyrian warriors to basically prove themselves and attain true warrior status. You get drugged and dropped, essentially, and then you wake up, you fight, and kill your way to the top of this mountain, Ramiel. The basic goal of the Blood Rite is to stay alive, and the best case scenario is that you would climb Ramiel and be the first to touch the peak of the mountain and get winnowed out of the Blood Rite. And Silver Flames goes into way more detail about how that all
If
works.
they don't make it to the mountain, though, after a certain number of days, they get winnowed back out. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the Blood
As long as
Rite
they don't
lasts.
die,
Yeah,
obviously.
the Blood Rite lasts for a week.
Okay, that's what I
So
thought.
you have a week to survive and or get to the top or as far up the mountain
And remind
as you can.
me, like, when you touch the stone, like, it's just like a victory?
I'm going to tell you.
Oh, please keep going.
So it is a victory.
We didn't even plan that.
Just keep listening.
Sorry.
So what stood out to me this time is at the beginning of Frost and Starlight, Cassian has his very first, his own point of view chapter. And he's talking about Ramiel as he flies to his and his mother's really old village. And he's describing the mountain of Ramiel. And he says that it has a shining black stone jutting from the top of the mountain. And it talks about how it looked like it was placed on top of the mountain. He kind of wonders, like, nobody knows who put it there. So I had never really noticed that piece of this. Mm-hmm. It's not a natural part of the mountain. It's not just like a black rock that is part of the mountain. It's a separate piece that was like put there. So that's what piqued my interest, and that's what I did my deep dive on. So I started with searching all of the ACOTAR books on my Kindle for mentions of Ramiel, mentions of black stone, and mentions of the word onyx, because this peak of Ramiel is described as an onyx monolith. So, Frost and Starlight, as Cassian is describing it, he says, legend said it had existed before the Night Court formed, before the Illyrians migrated from the Myrmidons, before humans had even walked the earth. So, if something or someone placed the black stone at the peak of Ramiel, it was a super long time ago, which begs the question, who and why, right? Who or what, I guess, did that, and then why would they do that? So, Later on in Silver Flames, Ramiel's talked about a ton. Blood Rite, it's a huge, huge part of especially the last section of that book, when Nesta, Gwen, and Emery, the Valkyries, are forced to participate in the Blood Rite. And while Nesta and the Valkyries are getting ready to climb Ramiel, and they try to win the whole Blood Rite, Emery is explaining this rock formation, the Pass of Enalius, and talks about the black stone at the peak of the mountain, and says that a long time ago there was a battle between Fae and, quote, ancient beings who oppressed them, and that for some reason the enemy was desperate to reach the stone at the top of Ramiel. We were never taught the reason why. I think it's been forgotten. So when Gwen and Emery reach the top of Ramiel and they touch the black stone, it is their victory of winning the Blood Rite. There's a light that flutters that Nesta sees. Gwen and Emery are winnowed away by its magic. Later we find out they were winnowed to the House of Wind. And Gwen and Emery say they think that the stone or the magic maybe knew where they needed to be, and that's why they went to the House of Wind.
This sounds very much like word gates.
Girl,
and
I'm
getting
there.
I'm so excited because I actually bring up Aelin and Crescent City later too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So please tell me. I'm so excited.
So Nesta discovers later when she hooks back up with Gwen and Emery at the House of Wind that not only were they winnowed away, but their wounds were completely healed in that magical process as well. We've got the stone that, according to Emery and Illyrian legend, I guess, or Illyrian folklore, it was extremely important in the past. It was important to their enemy that they were fighting, and it's still important in the ACOTAR present world with the Illyrians and the Blood Rite, and it has some kind of magical quality that somehow is tied to the Blood Rite. And I think it's Cassian that is wondering, like, you know, this magic for Illyrians only happens during the Blood Rite, and it's obviously attached to this stone, but it's like, which came first, right? Like, is it the magic? And so we did the Blood Rite because of this magic, or did we do the Blood Rite and then the magic came later? Like, which came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing? And we don't really know. So there are tons of theories among the fandoms that I've kind of seen floating around online and stuff, but I've never sat down before like I did for this and like put it all together. Okay. So,
are you about to blow my fucking mind?
I don't know. Maybe. It's a lot of things to think about. So the mysterious ancient beings that Emery mentions, there are a lot of theories that these mysterious ancient beings are Asteri from Crescent City and or the Valg from Throne of Glass. With that in mind, I kept searching for mentions of black stone or just the word onyx in the ACOTAR books on my Kindle. So in Silver Flames, when Nesta and Cassian are being attacked in the prison by the creature Lanthus, Lanthus, the creature, is showing Nesta visions of a future where she would rule with Lanthus. And she sees herself sitting on a throne of black stone with onyx beasts around her. In Silver Flames, at a different part, Eris is talking about the mountain, Ramiel, and wonders if there's something beneath Ramiel, like there's something under the mountain, and like the prison is under a mountain in the Night Court, like the Court of Nightmares is under a mountain in the Night Court.
Right.
And he kind of is talking about it as like a dig to Cassian and Illyrians, like, y'all are too stupid to look and see what's down there. But it's like, what is down there? Because all these other important mountains have stuff, right? So what is this stone potentially blocking or hiding or guarding, right? So again, in Wings and Ruin, which is book 3, we see black stone and onyx in the description of the thrones in the Court of Nightmares, and also in the description of the Dark Lord or Death Lord Koshé in his black box. So we don't know a lot about him, but we do know that he basically kidnaps women and traps them at his lake that he's stuck at, as well as this mysterious black box. And this black box and the women really that he kidnaps, those are his prized possessions. And that's pretty much all we know about him. But again, we've got this black material. And then in Mist and Fury, when the Inner Circle goes to meet with the human queens for the second time and they bring the Veritas with them, Mor carries the Veritas orb inside an onyx box. So, carrying something of great magical power, the Veritas, inside a black box.
That might block power?
Maybe. Or protect power from within, right? So.
Because what does Aelin carry the word keys in that protects? Isn't it an onyx box?
I don't remember if it's a box or not. That might be true. I did. So I then went to Throne of Glass, which was a lot harder to do because I only have the paperbacks of those. I don't have the Kindles. I know. So I was just kind of like, Google, help me. So fans of Sarah J. who have read Throne of Glass, like you already did, Deb, made the connection for what this next section of my deep dive is about. No, but if you've read Throne of Glass, then that's the logical conclusion, right? So this black stone onyx shows up in Throne of Glass over and over and over and over and over again. So basically, I tried to simplify this as much as I could because it's really convoluted. Throne of Glass is a huge series. Right. Go read it. It's great. Throne of Glass has word stone, which is a smooth black obsidian stone used to make certain magical objects and structures. It's a powerful conduit for magic, and it can actually house Valg demons and creatures of that Valg realm. So we see wordstone used to make the Valg rings and collars, like what Dorian has to wear, and where people are basically, they're forced to be possessed by these demons, right? And the rings or the collars is where the demons are staying, and wearing that piece of black stone enables them to like infiltrate your body and possess you, right? Wordstone is used to create word gates, which allow you to travel to different worlds and different realms, which we see Aelin do, and also word keys, which are used to power or open the word gates. So this smooth black stone is a form of traveling between realms, which is a huge powerful magic, right? And that kind of matches up with what happens in the Blood Rite when you reach the top of Ramiel and you touch it. It takes you somewhere else, right?
Right.
I tried to do the same kind of search for Crescent City, but that was a lot harder to do because, again, I don't have those on Kindle. And those books are huge, and there's only 2 of them, and so there's not as much fan work out there for Crescent City as there is for Throne of Glass, right? Because Throne of Glass is a completed series, and it's been out for a lot longer. But I do know that Ethan steals a black box from the astronomer in Crescent City. And again, the astronomer, much like Koschei, has this black box. We know almost nothing about him. And we also know that he is holding people captive, namely women.
And we also know that there are essentially word gates that help you winnow.
Right.
In Crescent City.
I tried to look at that like description of that scene of opening a gate and going somewhere else, but I didn't see any description of like black anything.
Right.
I went there first,
I think
but I didn't
like they're
see
made
it.
up of light, so it is like a little bit different.
Right.
Yeah. But I have a question. Do you mind if I interrupt?
Yeah, because that's all I have.
Oh, okay. So one of my lingering questions, we normally do this at the end, was what is Amren? So when they talk about Amren in this book, it says, a creature of flame and brimstone built in another world to mete out a cruel god's judgment, to be his executioner upon the masses of helpless mortals. 15,000 years she has been stuck in this world. But we know at the end of the second Crescent City book, when Bryce lands in Valaris, Rhysand mentions that her language has not been spoken for 15,000 years. So there's definitely a connection there. I continue.
Well, and Amren knows the language.
Right. Yes. I continue to think in timeline form, Throne of Glass, Crescent City, ACOTAR. Like there was like dawn of civilization, rise of civilization, crash of civilization from these Asteri, and then they're building back up into the world in Valaris, because there's a lot that points to Amren being an Asteri for sure, because she was a weapon and working for the gods, right? Yeah, that was awesome, Whitney.
Thank you. I was really excited about it. Well, what about everybody's favorite spicy scene? There wasn't a ton to choose from.
I was going to say, isn't there only like one?
There's pretty much just one.
I'll go first because I'm going to bring it down, then everyone else can bring it up. Okay. Because I know what everyone else's is, even though, and so the whole mind meld of let's have a baby made me lose my erection.
Yeah.
I am still not sure why SJM chose to add a baby into the mix, especially if she was going to have Feyre and Rhysand make a bargain later that if one dies, so does the other. I hate that.
Yeah.
So now, if one of them dies, Nyx loses both of his parents at the same time.
Yeah.
The Night Court will lose both their High Lord and their High Lady, and the Inner Circle loses 2 of their best friends at the same time. So, and I mean, you guys know this. It just continues to bother me as someone who does not like babies added to romantasy.
Yeah.
I felt like it was like a HEA trope that like people were asking for, and it was like, let's have mind-blowing sex, and while we're doing it, let's think about this baby we're gonna I was like, can we take out, I'm gonna like go into my Kindle and X out all the words of baby and then reread it. And like, I don't like babies in my romantasy. I just don't. Yeah. So now that I brought us all down with my negativity, and for the record, I love being a mom and I love babies. I just don't want to read it in my romantasy. So
I want to escape my reality.
I don't mind it if it's something that makes sense and is built into the, the story or whatever. This threw me for a loop because she had said she didn't want to. I get there wasn't enough build up in between the two. It was like a light switch.
Well, I agree with that, and that bothered me too. But as someone who is now a mother, I could never ever be like, well, now we're going to make a bargain that if you die, I die.
That part.
That's really like knowing that piece of information about later makes it worse, because I can't imagine being like, well, yeah, if I die, you die, and then our kid is just fucked.
Yeah.
There is a fan theory that they might be able to have a loophole and not have it be like both of us die, but more leave this world together. I will say, I went back, I saw that fan theory, and then I went back and looked at the original passage where they make the bargain, and they definitely say like die. Like it's very,
never mind.
It's very clear, but
Never mind.
they could still do a loophole like that, I guess.
Yeah. So Mindy, sorry,
let's talk about sexy times.
Let's
just pretend like that there was no baby in that. And
well, yeah, he can rail me up against the wall anytime he wants.
Okay, Reese and me.
The cabin scene, damn, right? Like when they're dirty talking through the bond, that just did something to me.
When you say that, I'm thinking of Friends, and I'm like, vulva.
But then, like, she shows him what she sees while she's watching them join together. Hot.
I like that.
And then their
I want to go to
power explodes orgasmically. Hot damn. Like, come on, people.
Know. We've got this. We've got Violet Sorengale having such good orgasms, lightning strikes. Like, we need to have some fairy and dragon sex.
There was one sex scene, right? So I picked a quote from their
joining.
Their coitus. But when Rhysand said, "Every time you feel exquisite," that gave me the tingles.
Ooh, I just got the tingles.
I'll be
back in 5 minutes.
That is such like a sexy thing to say. Yeah. I loved it, and hats off. Congratulations to Feyre and Rhysand.
Pants off. Congratulations.
Pants off. What about your all's novella MVP?
Mine was Cassian.
Mine too.
Yeah, I really like all the setup for his character and his back and forth with Nesta, even if it is negative. And he's the only one that thinks to get her a gift, even though she's a complete butthole and she won't accept it. Yeah. Do we ever find out what the gift was in Silver Flames? Do we find out?
I think we do. It's something to do with books. It's like a super old manuscript or something.
And you threw that shit in the river? What's wrong with you, man?
Well, because in Silver Flames, he's like, as soon as I threw it, like, I regretted doing it because it took me for freaking ever to find this. And it's got something to do with like an old book or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember exactly, but he does talk about it in Silver Flames.
But I do love all the setup for him. You learn a lot more about him. You already really like him before this book, but in this book, you're like, oh, Cassian, let's go.
I picked Cassian too, and part of it is just because he was funny, right? So that goes back to my favorite moment being like their playfulness and stuff. He was really funny, and he's the only one that tries with Nesta, right? Like he's the only. Amryn is also trying. I guess I shouldn't say he's the only one. He and Amryn are the only ones that really like give it a good effort, and she pushes everybody away, but he tries with her, and he sees that she is just like deeply, deeply hurting. And I feel like
she's fucking depressed.
Right. Well, like I feel like the other, I'm trying not to get on my soapbox about Nesta.
Okay, let's go ahead and say it. Amryn has a lot of the same issues that Nesta does.
Yes.
But she contributes something. That's the difference, right?
Yeah.
Like, so she does come, and even though she still is a complete bitch, like Amryn is a bitch, she is still contributing something, so it makes it more forgivable.
Well, and Nesta did contribute during the war and stuff. Like, she did the scrying and all that stuff, and then, in her mind, it got Elaine taken from her and
Right.
potentially tortured and killed. But she's so deeply like traumatized and hurt. And it's like nobody realizes that that's what's going on with her. And it just really, really bothers me because it's so clear that girlfriend is like deeply, deeply broken and like nobody gets it except for Cassian. And it really bugs me a lot. Mindy, who is your MVP?
I had trouble with this one, actually. I just couldn't find somebody that I really felt like drove this novella because I think because it's supposed to be more of just sort of a jovial sort of thing and then have that setup. But I landed on Feyre because I mean, she really is trying with her sisters, even though I don't think she's comfortable. Like, she doesn't know what to do, but I think she wants to know what to do, even if they frustrate her. And then all the while, she's still dealing with her own trauma. And then instead of wallowing in everything, she decides to be proactive and like help other people work through their trauma by using art therapy, which I think is cool because that's something that I also do when I know I need to pick me up. I'll go do some crafting, something, anything. Go sit in my craft room. It is something that really can power you through some of that and give you an outlet for it.
Racina is my favorite secondary character.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not only is she a kick-ass artist, but she accepts the High Lady for who she is as an artist, not who she is as High Lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I loved that. And she helps Feyre understand the need for art therapy and urges her to open the studio and talk to the family. And Racina's like this catalyst for making Feyre feel like she has a place in Valaris, which I think is really kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Mindy, like you were saying with the MVP in general, I had a hard time with the secondary character, and I ended up, even though I really don't like her, I ended up picking Elaine, and my only reason was because she was sweet instead of boring. There you go.
Well, mine, y'all might be surprised to hear that my favorite secondary character wasn't even in this book. It's the Suriel, because she thinks about the Suriel reminded Feyre, even from the beyond, of her purpose, because she remembered the Suriel telling her, leave this world a better place than when you found it.
Oh, that's
Mindy.
sweet.
Tears.
That's sweet.
I want my own Suriel.
I want cereal always. I asked my daughter if she wanted cereal for dinner, and she said no. And I was like, what is wrong with you?
What about a favorite quote?
Mine was when they're done in the cabin doing the nasty, and then they
Bumping uglies.
They noticed that the pictures actually did fall off the walls and that things had broken around them. And then Reese says, "That'll come out of your salary, you know."
I think she just paid for it and asked.
Yes,
I know,
think she did.
What was yours, Will?
Well, I had two. I have one that's like a really big bummer and one that really made me laugh. So I'll do
Start
the
with
bummer.
the bummer.
Yeah, I'll do the bummer first. I mean, all the conversations with Tamlin really bummed me out. But when Tamlin asks Rhysand, do you forgive me for your mother and sister? Like, that was rough. That was rough. And then, of course, Rhysand does not and just like doesn't say anything. And then Tamlin very quickly like changes the subject. That was just a really tough moment. But I also think about like the desperation and also kind of the courage to say that to Rhysand, like with their history. Like,
He's
that
like,
was kind of
I think
ballsy.
he was like, Rhysand, I'm trying.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
if you can please, like, just throw me a bone.
I know. I do think Tamlin is trying. It's just like his trying is really
Sucks.
not sufficient.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just not sufficient. But the one that really made me laugh was when they're one of the dinners and Elaine was like, "Oh, I'm covered in flour," and she goes to change her clothes and everybody starts to eat and Azriel is like, "No, we're going to wait." And Cassian says, "Wait for what? Gravy?" That made me laugh out loud when I read it.
I did love that Azriel was like, dude, not everyone's at the table. And Cassian is pretty much like, we never wait for everyone to come at the
Right.
table.
Yeah,
What's
like,
wrong with you?
What are we doing?
And then Moore says, "Yeah, wait," but just, like half her food's already eaten.
Yeah.
They're like, wait for what? A piece of ass? Like,
Yeah.
what are we waiting for?
Yeah, that made me laugh a lot. What are some lingering questions that you have? Obviously, we have a ton because ACOTAR is not a completed
Right.
series. So one of my big ones is what you talked about earlier, Deb. Like, what's the deal with Moore? We find out she's got this property. It's in the Winter Court, which I thought was curious. We find
Right.
out the name of her horse and the name of her estate and a lot of weird details and a lot of pieces of her story, but not anything.
Substantial.
Yeah, not anything really substantial. So I just have a lot of questions about Moore.
I wanted to know what was in the box that Cassian was trying to get. And I had forgotten.
What's in the box?
What's in the box? I'd forgotten that was discussed in Silver Flames. And then the other one was what is in that darkness that Moore senses in the woods. And I put bright access, maybe.
I know. That's what my theory is as well. Yeah.
I have some questions for Sarah J too.
Yeah.
I'm like, so could she just be a little bit more active on social media? So we could, and it doesn't even have to be her. It can be the publisher. If someone
on your team,
let us peek behind the curtain more than once a year, that would be fab. I mean, that was the thing. I would love to see more things from her personally.
Yeah.
My second question for her is, will we see Aelin and Rowan again in all of this? I really would love to see the Valkyries with Bryce and Aelin. That's what I want. Like a party of 5 Valkyries just kicking some ass.
And Lysandra too.
And Lysandra,
that would be a good one.
And I want to know who so we know that Crescent City 3 is coming out. And Charity, I'm sorry, but you already know this. We know it's a multiverse. We know that Bryce is in Valaris right now. But in terms of the actual ACOTAR books, because, I mean, people keep saying, when's the next ACOTAR book? Well, we're kind of getting some of that in the next Crescent City. We know that. But in Goodreads, there is like an ACOTAR, like 5, 6, and 7, right? So who will be the main characters in the next book? That's what I want to know.
I'm almost positive that Sarah J said that now that she's done with Crescent City, she's working on the next ACOTAR book, or like that's next up.
Yeah.
I want to say that she said something about Elaine being the focus, but I don't know if that is true or if it's just people on social media said it's going to be Elaine.
Well, and I don't know why the publisher wouldn't do this, but there's 4 houses in Crescent City, and she has said she has an idea for a 4th book. There is no way in hell the publisher's not going to let her contract for that.
Yeah, seriously.
Right. So I do think we'll get another Crescent City book. It would be weird for us not to get the 4th house.
Yes, it would.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that anyone wanted to say to Sarah J?
Author on an interview said something really interesting the other night. She said fantasy readers are very loyal and they will wait years for a book. And romance readers want a book right away.
Yeah.
Which I found super interesting,
makes
which
sense.
is true.
It's really true.
Yeah. But I will wait for good world building.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Me too.
Yeah.
So are we ready to talk about our fan cast?
I'm excited.
I was afraid. I was afraid.
I don't want Deborah to look at mine this time.
Charity.
I didn't mean to, but I got excited when I saw yours last time.
I want it to be a surprise.
Sorry.
No, don't apologize. I thought it was fun, actually.
I am notoriously bad at fan casts.
Whitney just needs to pay attention to race a little bit. She's like, in the book, she's like, dark skin, dark eyes, dark hair. And Whitney's like, major white guy.
I
will say, I normally do a fan cast based on vibes, but I actually did like description this time.
Well, you have read these 8 times.
Yeah, right, so at least. It's probably 9. More than that.
Yeah.
Well, so let's start, I guess, with Feyre. Who did you guys fan cast for Feyre?
Well, since I can't see Mindy's screen anymore, you go first, Mindy.
I really struggled with Feyre. I can't decide who I want to land on. I had Haley Steinfeld, Ariel Winter, and Jenna Ortega.
Oh.
And I kind of want like a mix of those 3.
Yeah, I think Jenna Ortega on her own is a little too harsh.
Right. Like she had too much of an edge, but I liked her vibe, I guess.
Vibes,
just like how
she would definitely kill a wolf and bring down
like
a court.
her.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm landing on Haley Steinfeld.
Well, mine's not too far from yours in terms of kind of like what they look like and their vibe. Mine is Alexandra Daddario. She got her start in the Percy Jackson movies, and then she's in the Mayfair Witches show. I just think she's beautiful and looks innocent, but she also looks like she wouldn't take any shit from anybody.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a female protagonist in Percy Jackson, so I mean, she's a pretty strong character in that. And so I really like her, and I think she's really beautiful and could really nail
pretty.
that part. Yeah.
I went on one of the SJM Facebook groups that I'm in and searched Fancast and picked all of mine from other people's. So
I feel like we've made you nervous.
Yes. But it's okay.
Here's what we'll do. Next time there are people of color in a book, I will just ping
tell
you
me
separately and be like, Whitney, that person's black.
Oh, man.
I'm sorry we made you nervous.
No, it's me and my own inability to do it. But there's this actress, Danielle Rose Russell, for Feyre, and she's really cute.
Yeah.
I took a screenshot of her picture. What about Rhysand?
Have you all seen the movie The Invitation? It's about it turns out he's a vampire and he's trying to like recruit a bride. But it's Thomas Doherty, and he's a vampire in that. And if you just see pictures of him, you're like, all right. But in that movie, he has extreme swagger. He like pulls it off. He is like the alpha, right? Without being like a jerk. I mean, he is kind of a jerk towards the end, but he already has like pointy ears, which is kind of weird. You guys all have to look up a picture of him. But
what's his name?
Beautiful, Thomas Doherty.
Thomas Doherty.
Yeah,
I know.
I think he actually was on a Disney show when he was younger.
I was going to
feel
say,
like I've seen that name as well.
Yeah. What was yours, man?
Well, mine is. This is highly controversial, right? But this is just who I picture, who I've always pictured. Because first of all, he's too white. I'm just going to say that out loud. So,
well, and Thomas Doherty's white, too.
So put some bronzer on this guy, all right? And he's also been said that he's too old. But I just think he's one of those guys that just always looks young. He's got that Paul Rudd effect. But it's not Paul Rudd.
I was going to say it's not Paul Rudd.
No,
right?
it's Ian Somerhalder.
Oh, yeah.
With the eyes.
He would be a great Rhys.
I just picture him in Vampire Diaries with a tan.
Mm-hmm. Well, when he comes from the 50 Years Under the Mountain, he is very pale.
True.
So
yeah, but he's got a tan at some point.
Yeah.
Well,
I definitely think of the boys as being, and again, I didn't fan cast Rhys is a Turkish descent, but I do kind of think of them as having that type of skin.
So my Rhys is a guy. I don't know exactly how to pronounce his last name, but it's Richard Dice or Deese, maybe Deiss. He's got a real smolder.
Oh,
okay.
Smolder thing going on. What about? Let's do Nesta next. Did you guys fan cast Nesta?
I did.
I did too.
I said Phoebe Tonkin.
I did too.
You did not.
Yes.
She's in the originals. She's beautiful.
Yeah, I love her.
And she definitely has some good RBF.
Yes.
Yeah.
I searched to take a screenshot of a picture where she was not smiling.
That's hilarious.
That is so funny.
Yeah, she's
I picked her
great.
too.
What about
Who was
you?
yours? Jen?
I went with Dove Cameron, but in her dark hair phase.
Dark hair. Yeah.
She would be really good.
Yeah.
I would love to see her in some adult things.
I would too.
I think she's gorgeous. She's a great actress. She's kind of stuck in that Disney
she
definitely
bubble.
is.
She's gonna have trouble breaking out of that.
If you look at pictures of her though with darker hair, she has definitely grown into her womanhood.
Miley got out of it. Zendaya got out of it. She can get out of it.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
A lot of people had picked Dove Cameron as a platinum blonde for more.
That makes sense too.
Oh yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah, I thought was a good one.
When my kids were younger, that's when Descendants were really big, and those movies are actually pretty good. They do this dance water scene on this cruise ship in movie 3, and it's really cool. I loved it. They're really cute, and they weren't annoying where you're a parent,
horrible.
you're like, oh my god, I have to watch this again. Yeah.
What about Cassian?
Okay, so you guys will have to look up a picture of him. He's a Turkish actor. His name is Can Yaman.
That's who I picked.
That's who I picked.
No way.
Yes.
He is so
He is
fucking
hot.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember what he was in or whatever.
He's huge. He has long hair.
Yeah.
He exemplifies.
He looks wild and just
Yeah.
Minty. He looks wild.
He looks wild.
Ooh la la.
Like you might need to
I
be
just always
tamed.
picture Cassian looking like he just
He's
No,
windblown.
yeah.
he's
All the
windblown all the
time.
time.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
His little
I picked
half
him
man
too.
bun.
I think that might be the first time we've all three had
Picked the same
person.
one. I think that may never happen again.
Our loins are in sync.
They are.
What about Azrael?
So same thing. He is fan casted a lot on social media. You'll
Yeah.
see him on some of the pages. He's a German model. He looks very Turkish though.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Tony Mahfoud. And oh my god, he has tattoos, and he has these extremely striking eyes and black hair. And seriously, my underwear fall off. Every time someone fan casts him, my feminism goes out the door, my panties fall off, and I go find my husband. He's so hot. But what's yours, Whitney?
I've picked this actor before in other fan casts because I just really like him. But I picked Jacob Elordi. He can do dark and brooding.
He could be Azrael,
yeah,
for sure.
he can do dark and brooding
He would
really
need to
well.
bulk up a little
I
bit.
considered him
Yeah.
as well.
I really like him a lot. He's
Now,
so
now I
cute.
know you did change yours to mine, Mindy, but who was it?
I actually went with Ben Barnes again. On Vibes.
I did
love
actually
him.
think of Ben
on
Barnes for
Vibes
this.
just because I always see,
Well, he's
Azrael's
done on Shadow and Bone, unfortunately.
I know.
So I do have to say, and there's a change.org petition going around to
Yeah.
save Shadow and Bone.
Yeah,
which-
I saw that.
Yeah, and so I put it in our stories, but I might do an actual post about it because Lee Bardugo then did a little voice memo in her group, and she's like, "You guys, this is amazing," but people don't want to end?
Right.
Yeah.
So Hulu or someone needs to pick
Somebody's
it
got
up.
to pick it up.
I don't. I don't understand.
I
the
really
politics
need
of all
more
of that.
Ben Barnes as a dark character.
You should watch the if you can find it, if it's still on Netflix, the Punisher series. Ben Barnes is
Is
in
he
that.
in that? Mm-hmm. Is he a bad guy?
It is delightful. I don't know if those are still on Netflix anymore because they had a thing with when Disney bought Marvel.
I wonder
so
if they're on Disney Plus.
I don't think so.
Oh, boo.
But
okay.
anyway, what about Elaine?
I went with Victoria Pedretti. She's
yeah.
Mike Flanagan loves her. She's in Haunting of Hill House and Haunting of Bly Manor.
Oh, yeah.
She was in You for a couple of
Yeah,
seasons.
yes,
also.
sure
that
was.
as well.
Yeah.
She'd be a good Nesta, too. She kind of has that
She
face.
could definitely pull off
Yeah.
Nesta.
So my Elaine was Cerese Ronan. Yeah, she's beautiful but unassuming, and so she's very striking. But she could easily blend into the background.
I can see
until
that.
she doesn't need to anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I like about her. What was yours?
I picked an actress from Bridgerton, Phoebe Dynevor.
Yeah,
Dynevor.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
She'd be a
She's
good
got the
one.
beautiful eyes that
Yeah, she's
kind of it describes.
And
She's
she
got
looks
that
very
wafy and-
frail and like
Yeah.
What about more? Who'd you guys pick?
I picked Margot Robbie.
Oh, that's a
So
good
I
one.
was actually looking at her, but I thought that she looked a little older than I pictured more. I picked Claire Holt, who's also on Vampire
Oh,
Diaries
yes.
in original. She plays Rebecca.
I can see that.
She
That's a
would
good one.
be a good one. She's
I
got a
love her.
smoking
Yeah.
hot bod too.
I picked Blake Lively.
Ooh,
I thought about Blake too.
Yeah, I
Blake
love
would be
her.
a great Moore.
Yeah.
Very gossip girly with the
Yes.
long
Right.
wavy
Yes.
hair.
Yes,
and, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, my daughter started watching Gossip Girl, and she comes in the room and she goes, "God, Blake Lively is hot."
She is so. I mean,
She definitely
is so
is.
beautiful. She's
Yeah,
always been
she
so
really
beautiful.
is.
What about Amryn?
Mine was Ryla Fukushima. She's a Japanese model and actress, but she has a blunt bob with bangs. She has very striking eyes. And some fan casts have gone in and like photoshopped her with silver eyes, and she's like
Ooh, cool.
beautiful.
Yeah,
very
that's cool.
striking bone structure like Amryn's supposed to have.
Yeah, who'd you pick, Mindy?
So I had to. I found an Asian actress named Steph Chang, and also with that bob haircut that I thought looked really good. But the one I really like is, I don't think she's got any Asian in her at all, but she's very exotic looking, and it's Rowan Blanchard. She was in Girl Meets World, but now, but currently not when she was a kid, and like she's grown up so beautiful.
Not her in Girl Meets World.
Not her in Girl Meets World. No.
Oh, yeah, I pulled her up. She would be great. I think she's of Asian descent.
You think so? I mean, she's
Yeah.
definitely got that exotic look about her.
It says she lives in L.A., but yeah, I mean, she's definitely very exotic. She's pretty.
Yeah.
She could be a great Amber. Not that someone not pretty couldn't be, but
Right.
Yeah.
striking is kind of what we're
Striking
looking
is
for
the
here.
word, yeah.
Yeah.
I went with somebody partly for looks and partly for vibes, but definitely for vibes. I actually picked Aubrey Plaza.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
She's got some of the look, not totally. She's
Definitely
had shorter.
sarcastic enough.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. See, that's my.
Yeah.
She's got the attitude, the ability to have that, the attitude that Amryn has.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I went with her. But yeah, I think she would make a good Amryn. The only other character that I fan casted was Lucian.
I did Tamlin and Nuala and Caradwyn.
Okay,
I didn't do
who'd you
anybody's.
pick?
For Nuala and Caradwyn, I picked Angela Serafran. She played Tia in Breaking Dawn Part 2. She's one of the Egyptian vampires that comes with
Rami Malek.
Yeah, she's with him. She's just beautiful, and she has that long hair like they talk about, and so of course she would like play them twice. And then for Tamlin, I picked Luke Eisner. He's an actor and a musician, and he just like exudes it. He has long blonde hair, young, has like super strong cheekbones.
Does he play the fiddle?
Well, I bet he can play as well as
Tamlin does.
did.
Yeah. So I saw this guy again in one of the Facebook groups on somebody else's fan cast. So shout out to Facebook. There's an actor, Karim Bersine. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name exactly, but this isn't like a super great Lucian picture, but
Is he a ginger?
it looks like he is. There's some like
He's definitely got a little bit of a highlight. Yeah, copper highlight.
There
But yes.
was all those rumors, like especially like right when we started our Bookstagram, it was the first reel we posted. Sarah J. Maas had said some things about Sam Heughan.
Yeah.
And so I've continued to picture essentially Jamie Fraser as Lucian, not
Lucian.
Sam.
Yeah.
Jamie Fraser. Because, I mean, Lucian is not, in so many like pieces of character art, he's shrimpy, and he's not.
Right.
Yeah.
He is built, he's salt
Yeah.
of the earth. He, and so probably my favorite one by him, and I've said this before on the show, and I actually have it in our book room, is the drawing by artwork by Zoe Holland. He is like big and has all the abs, and oh my God, he's so hot.
Well, I think that brings us to our nerdiest thing of the week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sure
Yeah.
does.
Mindy, what was your nerdiest thing of the week?
Okay, so you know how everybody loves all the book boxes with all the special editions and whatnot?
Yeah.
No, I'm the one that orders the cat lady box. And so every month,
Like for Cupcake, you got stuff for your cat?
both. So every month I get this cat lady box, okay? And there's like a cat themed t-shirt in it. And then there's a theme. So like this month's theme was kitchen. Last month's was black cats, which was kind of what sucked me in. But this month's was kitchen. So I got a little cat head shaped strainer. I got a paper towel holder that's like silver, and then the bottom of it's cat head shaped. I also got the shirt and then 2 little catnip toys for the cats.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, wait, it was 2 little hooks, little black cat hooks with their tails were the hooks.
Oh,
that was the other
cute.
thing.
That's
So every
amazing.
month I get like 3 or 4 little things and a t-shirt
Yeah.
every month. I mean, it's super affordable. It's like $43 shipped for all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the cats get something too.
Right.
They're cute too. Like last month, it was one of the cat toys was a rotten banana, and it was like a black banana with like crossed out eyes. They're cute. They're really
That's
cute.
funny.
I do
So, yeah.
I do the adult fairy loot box, and sometimes my cat gets something for that too. So mine is I had to up my reading goal again, which is
Ooh,
exciting.
awesome.
So I started the year, my reading goal was 70 because if you listen to this podcast, you know I did like sleep school last year, and I was worried that I wouldn't read as much, but it turns out like sleep school really taught me to just be able to actually go to sleep when I want to.
Right.
But I don't want to go to sleep yet, so I'm still reading, right? Because I want to read. But I upped it to 90, and then I upped it to 100, and then I upped it to 115.
That's awesome.
And I'm about to hit it.
That's awesome.
awesome.
So I'm not going to raise it again because December for my design company is the busiest time
Yeah.
of year
Yeah.
for me. So if I go over, that would be great. But I'm like 3 books away right now. So
awesome.
I'm really excited about that. But yeah,
Yay.
I always wondered, I'm like, how do people read 100 books a year? But for the record, I'm always listening to one and always reading one. So
Yeah.
obviously I can get through the ones I listen to much faster than the reading ones. But I just have had the most amazing reading year. There
Yeah.
have been so
Yeah.
many good books
There
this
have been
year.
a ton of good books.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a really good year.
Yeah. What was yours, Whit?
Mine is I have a new reading friend, one of the teachers at my kids'
What?
school.
You have other
I
friends?
know, right?
That's not allowed.
We just started talking at the book fair, and she started listening to the podcast and has been reading.
did?
Yeah, she's been reading books and like messaging me as she reads them. Like she started reading Throne of Glass, and I was like, okay, I got to read Throne of Glass now.
Oh, is she the one that was talking about how much she likes Selena and Sam? Is that the one you sent?
Yes,
You were
yes.
like,
I
"Oh,
sent
no."
I sent you guys the screenshot. She
Did
was
she
like,
get
"Oh,
past that
Sam
already?"
loves her. He gave her sheet music. They're so sweet. I love them so much." And I texted you guys, and I was like, "I feel really bad."
And I think I sent you back a gift that said, "Oh, honey."
I know. Well, she finished Assassin's Blade, and she messaged me screaming, crying, throwing up. And I was like, "Oh."
Kingdom of Ash is such an amazing book.
They're all so good.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've read them, and I've only read them once, right? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, oh yeah, like I forgot about this.
Now that Crescent City's over, I'm really chomping at the bit to read them again because I want to see all of the multiverse stuff.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm interested, but yeah, she messaged me the other day and she was like, "I've never had a reading friend before," and I was like, "Oh,
I
We'll
love
be her
that.
friend.
that's why that's why we do this." So, I loved it. Well, I think that's it.
Happy solstice, everybody.
Yes, happy solstice.
It's the longest night of the year, and I always get excited on solstice because I'm a summer girl, and it means from here on out, the days get longer.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a seasonal affective disorder girl. So. I get excited about that too.
What are we reading next, Whit?
So next time we will be talking about Emily Rath's Pucking Around, chapters 1 through 40.
Can't wait to talk about reverse harem with y'all.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Like what you heard in this episode? Follow Our Nerdiest Thing on Instagram at instagram.com/Our Nerdiest Thing or Facebook at facebook.com/Our Nerdiest Thing. We love hearing from fellow nerds. email us at ournerdiestthing@gmail.com.